Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Evan Here's Culture campaign. Today we have a very, very special guest. He is the director of Money Fund Vengeance.
Oh my God.
He is one of the most agile and brilliant legal minds coming up on the scene. If you are in any sort of legal trouble, this is the guy who will get you out, and he'll get you. The state will settle, and you'll get a huge, huge payout.
Mm-hmm.
It's the great Aidan Van Alstyne. How are you?
I'm great. I'd like to say for the record, I'm not a lawyer.
Right.
I hate all lawyers, but you got to change it from the inside, baby. And I'm coming.
Right. You're a legal assistant, yes?
I'm a secretary. They changed the name. I don't know why. I think some people complained because they didn't want to have secretary on their resumes or something.
Right.
But yeah, I'm a secretary. I answer phones.
All right. And with that, I think we've firmly established your qualifications. And also we have the great Morgan Cook is just off screen.
Yes. Partner.
Who potentially chiming in.
I'm trying to transition into a straight guy who calls his girlfriend partner. I'm giving that a whirl. This is my partner.
I think you can pull it off. You're pulling it off right now. Well, today we are gathered here today to talk about Death Grips and their 2012 album, The Money Store. And Aidan, I don't know if you even remember why you were the guy that I reached out to be on this episode.
No.
3 years ago or whatever it is now. I'll find the initial text where I asked you and pop it on the screen, and we'll figure that out. But it was one you used to wear. You had a Death Grip shirt.
Yeah.
That was all the cast of Seinfeld. Doing.
Oh, you're right. I did.
Yeah, you used to have that shirt. And
it was a medium, and I got a little too fat for it.
I was like, I don't think I've ever seen that shirt.
Yes. And Death Grips, I mean, wasn't familiar with them really before doing this show, had heard of them, and I'd always sort of thought I was so naive at the time. I just assumed any band that had the word death in it had to be a metal band.
Mm-hmm.
Had to be like a Black Sabbath or a Metallica or something, or a Death.
Two bands that don't have the word death in them.
Two bands that don't have the word death in them. But I just sort of assumed. And then one day we're hanging out in the common room back in the 1408 days, and we're listening to music. And you suggested, or you put in the queue, a Death Grips song. I can't remember what it was. I don't know what was. Let's put your head in the mind of a past life, like some regression therapy.
Yeah.
It's 2018. We're in the common room in 1408. What is the Death Grip song you think you would be putting on at that time?
I want to say it wouldn't be anything on the Money Store. I think I wouldn't do that. I think it would either be something from Government Plates or Bottomless Pit. Because Bottomless Pit came out in 2016.
Yeah, Bottomless Pit was 2016. I don't know if Year of the Snitch, which was 2018, right, was out at that point or not. But yeah, it's probably something off one of those two. I have no clue what it was, but I remember hearing that for the first time. It was the first time really hearing Death Grips and thinking, what the fuck is this? I had no idea that they were a hip hop group or an experimental hip hop, punk rock, industrial, whatever you want to categorize them as, that it was in that avenue at all. And I remember it being like a funky song, had a bit of a funk sort of groove to it. And I was like, geez, this is fascinating. So after that moment, I just always associated you as being the Death Grips guy between hearing whatever song that was and the t-shirt.
Well, let me tell you this to further concrete me as the Death Grips guy. I've been to 3 concerts in my life. One was when I was just a wee lad. I saw AC/DC at the formerly known as the Pepsi Center in Denver. And then I saw Death Grips in Denver and Ogden. And then I saw Death Grips again in college in Worcestershire, Massachusetts. And those are the only 3 concerts I've ever been to in my entire life.
So 66.6
Yeah.
repeating of the concerts you've seen have been Death Grips concerts. Well, how, obviously the way I discovered them or got into them, whatever you want to consider it, is through this list, through doing this show. How did you become acquainted with the group?
We actually just talked about this.
So have you ever heard of the YouTube channel Your Movie Sucks?
I've heard of it.
Yeah. So what made that guy's career, I think, or at least how I saw him, was he was reviewing these really shitty movies called Cool Cat, made by some guy in Las Vegas. And at one point he just made like a little edit where Cool Cat is dancing to something from Ex-Military, the one where he's like talking about going to the club and just drinking every drug possible and having sex.
Could be a lot of almost any song off of that.
Yeah.
At that point.
Then I heard that, and something in me like clicked, where it was like, no, it's like funny, like, oh, haha, it's a cute little cat dancing to this awful song. But then I was like, I need to know what this song is because it's amazing. And then I listened to all of Ex-Military, and it was away we go.
Am I allowed to answer?
Morgan's allowed to answer.
Oh yeah, I would love to hear.
Yeah.
Funny enough, I think I just told Aidan a separate story, and as you started explaining your story, I remembered that my story was not accurate because I told him the first song I ever heard by them was I've Seen Footage, which was on the Money Store, and it was shown to me by a man I was speaking to on Tinder. And I think I convinced myself to like it more than I thought I normally would because I was like, this boy likes it. I need to like this. But what it was I have this friend who I still currently am friends with, and she's very indie, artsy, underground, was always like 10 steps ahead in the music world, like all throughout high school and late middle school. And I think I remember her specifically playing Get Got in my car when we were probably, must have been 2016. And again, one of those situations where I feel like I convinced myself to like it more than I would have if I just sat down and listened to it by myself. Because it was just like my friends at the time, the scene was so like underground and like it was different, different than what most kids were listening to in 2016. And then I started to obviously explore, and obviously I've had more exposure with it with Aidan, and now I really love them.
Yeah, it can definitely, I get the sense that for a lot of people, for sure, it is an acquired taste.
Yes.
The Death Grips. You got to put a little bit of time in to get something out. I feel like for a lot of people.
I'd even say that about my favorite album of theirs is one that I listened to, and initially I think I hated. And now it's definitely my favorite by I'd say a large margin.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I like even is Death Grips as a whole, because I mean, I don't have like them in my specific playlist or anything. I just have like a few, the songs I have from their discography or whatever. And I look at it and there's like 15 liked songs, but there's like 3 of each album. So I don't know if as a whole I would even like it, but there's a select few of each album that I'm just obsessed with, and they like hit me the right way. And then there are so much more, and I try to like expand my knowledge on Death Grips and try to listen to the full album, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? So
I definitely understand that perspective on the band. I will say, when I finally listened to this album for the first time, and it was my first time really listening to the band at all, I think I was in, not to the level I got of fandom and of loving the music, but I was pretty much on board immediately when the album started. And it had been an album that a lot of sort of expectation or hype had been built up in my mind about it, because one, it's like well, I really want to listen to it to get to this episode with Aidan. And it's like once you start getting kind of interested or invested in the indie music scene, or not the indie music scene, but like just the music, trying to follow the hot music or what people are into, or sort of that underground. There's sort of a legend around Death Grips, or a bit of a mystique, based on their sort of elusive online.
That's what I was saying. There was almost like this group of people that were like specific. It was exclusive to this group of people, and like if you were in it, you felt like this certain way about yourself, and that's kind of how it felt when it really was at its peak. I want to say almost.
And one of my favorite things about them is I was rewatching music videos of theirs in preparation, and I really think one of my favorite things is that I have no idea what the fuck these people are like. They don't talk. I don't know what they think about politics or anything. I just have to imagine.
Yeah, I have nothing about their personal lives really, or anything. I mean, they'll do interviews. You can read quotes, but it's like so.
I don't want to read them, but like if if you showed me, or if you told me there was like an hour documentary on Death Grips, a part of me would be disappointed.
Right, you wouldn't want to watch it. It's like you would want to preserve the mystique.
But I'd hate myself for doing it.
But it's like, it's like it was an album before I even listened to it. It's like I already knew the names of the songs off of it that were popular, and it's one of the Anthony Fantano 10s. It's the first one. I've never watched his review on it or anything. I might watch it after this just because I kind of didn't want to be swayed by whatever he said. But I'd heard about Get Got. I'd heard about I've Seen Footage, but I'd never listened to him. And so the day I finally am listening to it, which was about almost a year ago at this point, because I always think that show is going to happen faster than it does. Like I was fully, like, it was like the night before. I'm thinking, I had planned it out in my mind. I had the job at the time where I was going to elementary and middle schools to do this like performance piece / educational thing about mental health. And I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, but the drive to the one I got to do tomorrow, it's about 40 minutes. It's right around the length of the album. That's the time I'm going to listen to it. I was even having trouble sleeping that night. Tomorrow is the time I listen to it. And I get in the car and I'm driving, and Get Got comes on. The drums kick in immediately. You get the hook, the get, and I'm like, all right, this is it. This is exactly what I was hoping, to get out of this. Like, I'm immediately thrilled. I'm hooked in. The noise is working for me. It's like I listen to that song, I'm like, all right, let's pop that on repeat and listen to that again, and then progress the rest of the way through the album. And I will say that if I'm already kind of jumping into, I think, like you were saying, Morgan, I think a lot of Death Grips albums don't always hold together entirely as an album experience, listening from start to finish. I think it is very much the case that you can always pull out a few of the really highlight standout tracks and just enjoy those. So I will say Get Got happens. The album sort of dips for me. I'm still enjoying it. Then Hustle Bones comes on. I'm back in. I love the sort of, I don't know, the female vocalists or whatever the sample or recording is for that undergirds that thing, and the Hustle Bones coming out. all that shit is incredible. And then that goes into I've Seen Footage, which was just as great as everybody had said. That one popped on repeat. Got to the elementary school. God was there early. So I'm in the parking lot while school is in session, just listening to Death Grips for the first time. And at that point in the album, it's like, fuck that. Bitch, please.
You can even argue by even looking at what we're seeing right now is the what you have on your screen as well. You could even say that I've seen footage is something that it's almost like this is very high up. This is like far reach, but it's almost the pop song of the album to me, at least. That's how I see it. Where like you have a select few friends that you could show this to and they would be on board. Like it almost seems like you couldn't just reach your hand into a hat and pull out any one of these songs and make someone feel that way. And that you can see Get Got and I've Seen Footage are the two most popular of the whole album.
Yeah, and I've seen footage. It's like it is the popness of it is boosted by the fact that it's one of the songs on the album that is clearest what it's about.
Yeah, it's not very much random noise.
Not particularly cryptic. It's I've seen footage. It is, you're all the overwhelmed by all the fucked up stuff you can see online of the kid getting killed by the cop or the police brutality, just all the stuff that the lyrics are pretty clear and upfront about what they're about. But you don't quite finish the album, go do the presentation, get back in the car, listen to Hacker. And then this is one of the few times I've done that where I listened to the album that morning, listened to it again later that night, twice in one day, listened to it again the next day. There was just really something about it that appealed to me. And, I came to realize on that second day that Hacker was my favorite track.
That's
the album. I think that's just incredible. Has the weird club disco-y thing going on in it. I'd
be remiss to say that The Fever is not my favorite track.
I like
mostly
that
because somewhere there may exist either a script treatment or an actual script titled The Fever, in which I wrote a short film based around not even like the themes, but just what the fuck I was feeling listening to that one song over and over again.
I got the fever.
Yes, exactly.
So I mean, those were just like my initial impressions of the album. I've listened to it several times since, and my fondness for it does grow. I've definitely, as I've sort of hinted at, there are definitely lulls in it. Everything is good, but there are bits where there are peaks and valleys to the album.
Okay.
I feel like. I don't know. I mean, what are your sort of impressions of it, Aidan? Because I already know that this is not your favorite of the Death Grips.
And I'll say it's not my favorite. I think because of what Morgan was saying, that it's like if somebody was interested in Death Grips, I would send them to the Money Store, even though it's not my favorite album, because I think it is despite it, it's still Death Grips, but it's definitely like their cleanest, most accessible. It's not crazy. It's not. I'm trying to think of something incredibly weird. It's not like the B side of the Powers That Be,
or even the A side of the Powers That Be.
that too is also. Oh fuck, dude! I love the Powers That Be. Anyway, okay, but yeah, for the Money Store, I'm looking at the track list. There's like Get Got, great. Fever, great. Lost Boys, I'll enjoy. That's like the is that right?
Something like it's. Well, I mean
that's on No Love.
Lost Boys. I can't. That's the
I
thing about Death Grips is it's like there's a question to me of how much do the lyrics matter? Is it vibe? Or is it about, because if you can go and pull up Genius and investigate the lyrics and I think find something rewarding and interesting, but if you're actually just sitting there listening to any of the songs for the first time, you're gonna have no idea what is being said just through the delivery. And I like MC Ride's delivery a lot, but it's like, I mean, maybe other people besides me have some amazing ear where they can tune in and they know exactly what he's saying the first time through. But that's just not my experience at all.
To talk about the lyrics, actually, since ex-military was my introduction, I felt the opposite. I was like constantly on Genius looking at
Yeah, I was
the
gonna
lyrics
say,
and
you
getting a
know,
lot
so many
out of-
lyrics to these songs that I don't
mostly to
understand.
memorize it because I really like singing to songs. But also, yeah, I really, really enjoy the lyrics of ex-military. Yeah, especially the first song, Beware. There's like a good chunk. I probably should have pulled it up, but there's a good like 10 lines that just back to back are just amazing poetry, and I love it. But yeah, Money Store. Yeah, I don't know if I think about the lyrics to the Money Store a lot.
Yeah, I really just know the lyrics to Hacker. I know the lyrics to Hacker, and I know the choruses, sort of. I know the sounds of the choruses. This is one thing I'd say for Death Grips, is there is a charm to just whatever you hear the lyric as, regardless of whether it's correct or not.
Yeah.
Just pretend that that's the lyric, and you'll have a better time almost. Because like Double Helix has that line like, so you really want to know how I freak it? Or something. To me, it always sounds like, so you really want to know Al Franken? It's like, I almost prefer that in a way. It doesn't, it's nonsensical, but it's like whatever you hear in there, it's like almost as fulfilling as whatever the lyric actually is.
Yeah, but as I was saying, I think the Money Store is definitely entry level Death Grips, and I'd say that mostly because of Rye's vocals. While there is some range, I'd say compared to other albums, it's a lot of yelling for the most part, which is what I love from him. But something like A Bottomless Pit has something from like Hothead to Bubbles Buried in
I
This
love that
Jungle,
one.
which is my personal top Death Grip song of all time. It's coming in.
Yeah.
That is my favorite.
Yeah.
I actually hated this song when I listened to it the first time, including this whole album. I was really disappointed, and then I was like, no, I can't hate a Death Grip.
Was that the one that they had in Westworld?
Yeah. So I've always associated. I always wanted somebody to do Death Grips in film. Like I've always waited for that. To my knowledge, I've only seen one. I haven't like searched it out. There's probably at least one, or at least more. But there is one that was the first time I ever saw it, or was exposed to Death Grips on television, and it was fucking perfect. The scene is essentially Aaron Paul in Westworld has to distract people with noise in order to rob something. So him and his crew, this is like the future, so everybody has like a thing in their ear. So him and his crew like hit a button and everyone starts listening to Bubbles Buried in This Jungle. And they're all like, oh, what the fuck? This fucking stuff. It's perfect. It's amazing. It's the perfect use of Death Grips that I wouldn't have even imagined. I always imagined it like tied with like some action scene or something instead of using it as literal noise.
Right, actually, it being in the scene, being diegetic.
Yeah. I never even considered
it. Is kind of much more interesting, really, than it being used as background music. I mean, I think because it's like Money Store. I really like Money Store, but it's like I don't know if there's much more to talk about with it per se. As you're saying, it's like sort of it's the accessible one. It and Bottomless Pit are kind of the accessible entry point albums, and they're good and they are, I guess groundbreaking in a way. But the thing about Death Grips is this is part of the legend of the band. Every time I saw some post or anything about them before listening to it, every time somebody talks about any album, you'll see comment after comment going, oh, this is the most underrated one. This is the underrated one. And they'll say that for every album besides The Money Store. That somehow every single one of them is the most underrated one.
I'd say if Pitchfork or whatever, nobody cared about this album much, I'm sure there would be those people. But since it got the attention it deserved,
Yes, it absolutely got on the scale of people paying attention to Death Grips. You know, it got the attention it deserved. But I thought I wanted to investigate more. I wanted to unpack more about all the other albums, and oddly enough, they all happened in the 2010s. So it continued with sort of the theme of the show. And I thought, all right, I'm listening to it all. I'm going for everything. So I list Death Grips was my second most listened to artist of last year, because I went through and I listened to every album they've ever put out, and that includes I haven't listened to the EPs, but that includes Ex-Military, which is you could call it a mixtape, but it's an album.
Yeah.
And Fashion Week, which is all instrumentals.
Yeah.
Is not really what I go. I liked Fashion Week. I thought when knowing it was all instrumentals, I thought I was going to find it pretty bland, and I'm surprisingly compelled by it and really did enjoy the whole journey with it. But it's like, I don't need to listen to it a second time or anything, but I heard it all, Aidan.
Okay, I haven't even listened to Fashion Week because it's instrumentals. I was like, that's
one track on there that I liked as like that one stuck out, because there's a lot of tracks on there. They're all just named Runway and then a letter to spell out Jenny Death Win, which was the second half of Powers That Be that people were waiting for it to come out at that time. So I've heard everything, and man, do I love Death Grips, which was
welcome
kind
aboard.
of a surprise. And it's very much a testament to how much my tastes have sort of evolved from taking in all this music, because I remember, and I've got it right here. I remember back in high school trying to get into more music and buying the CD of 9 Inch Nails' The Downward Spiral.
Okay.
And listening to it on the drive to a friend's house in like a neighborhood I was not familiar with. And it was, very late at night, and I was terrified. Like, this shit is so scary. I took the CD out, and I haven't listened to it again since. I should go back to it now, because I'd probably really enjoy it. But it's like that industrial sound I've done a full 180, and I love it. Industrial noise, that abrasive edge to it, music that is spooky, I guess, in some ways.
Interesting. I don't associate it with.
I mean, it's not like the horrorcore sort of sound or anything like that, but it's just like, it is in your face. I think MC Ride at many points talks about how many people he's murdered and how he's going to murder you next. And
also, as a part of this research, I saw a compilation video of him throwing people off stage that would like come on stage, and it's genuinely violent. Like the way he shoves these people, like, without a single care for the laws of this government.
Yeah.
Like some drunk loser is just coming on stage and having a fun time, and he'll just grab them by the shirt and throw them into a metal wall.
And he has to do that, right? Because it would destroy the character of the songs. I mean, that's the thing about the personal life. We don't know if he's like that all the time.
Yeah.
Or if there is a bit of a character of MC Ride as the violent psychopath who is fucked up all the time and has committed all these crimes and is going to head to the Sammy Davis wing and murder all the people with cancer, and he's going to kill you in the Apple store, and just everything that he hints. Like, we have no idea. I did want to ask you, but so you've been to 2 different Death Grips shows.
I have.
And I was thinking, because I think they've got a tour coming up this year. I was like, oh, should I go or not? I don't know. I've watched some. I've seen footage. of their shows and thought, oh, I don't know if this would be for me or not. It's really like the mosh pits look very intense. Is it an experience you recommend, Aidan?
Okay. The first time I went, I was but a boy. I was probably 16, maybe 15 because no, I must have been 15 because my stepfather drove me and my friend.
Mm-hmm.
He dropped us off in a very weird crowd of people.
Was he familiar with the music at all? Had he heard any of
that? Not when I asked him to come with me because I didn't want to go alone. But then in the process of inviting him, he was like, I guess I'll like, he liked music and he just familiarized himself with it and then immediately also fell in love. So we were both in it. I did not mosh at that first one. I did not wear headphones either. And I came out very, very terrified. I loved it. My ears were ringing for a week. The second time, I was a man. I was in college, post-pubescent. I moshed. I was throwing people. I was pushing people. It was. I'm not a religious man, but that was, I think, the closest I've gotten to a genuine spiritual experience. I've never released that much energy that fast and for that long. It is genuinely something really, really special. I could not recommend it enough. You have to mosh.
or you're not getting everything out of it.
Yeah. I mean, I can't, if you're like a woman, maybe I'm sure there's some creeps who want to cop a feel, but I think that's everywhere.
Sure. Yeah, at some of the shows I've been.
For us over 6 foot men, you got to mosh. Just push some people. Maybe climb on top. You'll get pushed into. You'll get hurt, but then you're like, "Ow, I'm in pain. I'm gonna take it out on the guy next to me. I'm gonna go crazy." But you're so compact and you're so tight that you really can't do a lot of damage and nobody really can hurt you.
What do you think? So, what do you think? Like the psychology of this cathartic, almost cleansing experience you're talking about is it just like we spend so much of our lives building up this like pent up rage and aggression, and suddenly there's this avenue where violence is like sanctioned, and it gets all that out.
I think that's partly true.
There's a weird collaboration. It's a group effort. The mosh, one cannot mosh alone.
Yeah, and to go back to MC Ride just throwing people violently, like in all of those compilations, when that person hits their head on the corner of something metal, everyone starts cheering and they throw their hands up, and it becomes a better place.
Right. It's like a Jackass thing almost of becoming a hero through injury.
Yeah, I don't know about like the bottling up part. I think for me, Death Grips like unlocks like the Neanderthal in me. There's something that was lost 100,000 years ago in humanity with agriculture. That part of me just comes out, and I can feel it. I can just feel
back to before the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah. Oh, even further, like before language.
Right. Yeah. When
primordial soup.
Cavemen just bashing on rocks.
Just where they're. Oh man, I can taste it. Oh, I just want to shove somebody. Oh, it feels amazing.
I might go then. I might find what the best venue is going to be for wherever I'm.
Something small with not the biggest mosh, like I don't know square footage, but it was amazing. Their opener was all right.
Right.
I kind of preferred it the first time they didn't have an opener. It was just that auditory illusion where it's like 3 tones going up and you like can't hear one of them reset, so it just constantly feels like it's getting
Yeah.
higher and higher pitched. That was their opener. One time. Just
That
and
sounds
it-
great. Getting people
Yeah.
agitated already.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
before the
Yeah.
show
So
even starts and sort
yeah.
of
So yeah, they know exactly what
hijacking
they're
their
doing.
brains already.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely. I would recommend everyone who likes their music to. Like you have to.
You have to
Um,
give it a try at least once.
oh yes.
So, when I reached out to you and was like, "We're doing it. We're doing the
Mhm.
Death Grips episode, the Money Store episode," and you're like, you said, "Okay, we can talk Money Store, but can we talk about ex-military and
Yeah.
government plates?" Were the two that you cited as being your favorites. And I will say,
Yes.
when I was going through the whole list and after listening to Money Store, jump back, listen to ex-military and everything, and I was like, oh, this is pretty good. I don't love jumping off of. I think I already have just a bias against like listening to things on SoundCloud or DatPiff or whatever. DatPiff doesn't work. It fucks up all the time. It'll like
Yeah.
skip tracks but keep the titles and fast track, which if you've
Yeah.
never heard them, you can't identify anything. Or like sometimes Blood Creepin', just when I was trying to listen to it on DatPiff today, just didn't work, the final track.
Right.
So I had to jump over to SoundCloud. So I feel like I have just some weird bias beyond about that and couldn't like get invested in the album that way. But I listened to Ex-Military again yesterday. I listened to it for a third time today. And if you had asked me, 2 days ago, you had said, "What's the best Death Grips album?" I would have said, "Yeah, it's probably Money Store." No,
Let's go.
it is Ex-Military for sure, without a doubt. That is the best Death Grips album, back to back to back. I mean,
respectable man.
it does have like some standout tracks, not in the same way that like an I've Seen Footage is a standout track or anything, because it is a full-on experience.
Yeah.
Start to finish. Tachyon, you can point that out as a standout. You can point out Guillotine as like a standout. There's a lot that you could do that, but it's just like back to back to back. The energy of it is great. The instrumentals are perfectly placed to carry you through all 14 tracks. It's a long one, like even just in terms of the length of the tracks. Everything on Money Store besides Hacker clocks in at under 4, whereas that album has a lot of 4 and up to like 5-minute stuff on there. Like it's a bulky one, but the samples are so well utilized. I feel like as Death Grips goes on and on and on, like the more albums they put out, it gets so when they sample things, you can't identify what the samples are, which is not a bad thing because they're just so distorted.
Yeah.
And like in Hacker, this might be the first time this has ever happened on the Evan Here's Culture campaign, where one song in it has sampled another song that has already appeared. Midnight City is sampled. The M83 song is sampled on Hacker. And I've watched the sample, like every sample used in those videos on YouTube, and I've seen it back to back. And it's like only when they play them one after another can I even tell that it's the sample. If I'm just listening to it, I can't hear it at all. But like on Ex-Military, when Rumble kicks in, you're like, oh, that's Rumble. When Bowie's playing, when the Pink Floyd is there, like it's identifiable. And it has that same thrill that Beastie Boys is sampled on it, but so it has that same thrill that like Paul's Boutique had in the 80s of you're hearing that these like dense samples and you're going, how are they rapping over this? This is crazy. Like that, the unlocking the puzzle of building these beats. And this is true for all of Death Grips, but it feels especially true to me for Ex-Military. It's like, how does this work? This is wild. I don't know if that's, I mean, what is it about Ex-Military that puts it at that upper echelon for you?
For me, okay, I think this hit me at a perfect time in my life where I had just rewatched what would become my favorite show, the first season of True Detective. And so I was on like a nihilism grind. I was on sort of meaningless cult.
Time is a flat circle.
Time is a flat circle. Yeah. And so even with the album cover of like this man who and the title just sort of gives this emotion of like this hot, sweaty man standing in the middle of like some Louisiana swamp who is up to something. And if you see this, like the concept of seeing this man in the wild is terrifying. And so I was on this philosophical little 15-year-old edgy sort of thing. And not to, I don't want to call ex-military shallow, because I don't think it is philosophically. But for me, it just it has like a true darkness to it that I really love. Let me look at the track list here. Yeah, just there's a grime to it. Because I feel like so many songs, so much shit, so much music I've listened to tries to touch at the just like the primal nature of this, and they can't. It's not good enough. And this feels like it's almost alien. It shouldn't be released.
Well, I mean, the opening sample, I was like, oh, this voice, this is so compelling. And then you look up and you're like, oh, Charles Manson kicks off this album saying his nonsense. And that first song, it's like, I am the beast I worship and all that. It's definitely like, as you're saying, it's primal. It is man is a monster. There is something wrong with the world, and it creates these larger than life characters, like how MC Ride portrays himself on the album.
Here's okay.
Like there's something dark.
There's so many good lines from Beware. Just to read, I'd say the best, or at least what always sticks to me. It goes, worship is not on bended knee, nature knows not of mercy. To pray is to accept defeat. Power pisses on the weak, bow and beheaded by the beast, beggar on a bitch's leash. And then it ends, keeps going, and then it has like this great crescendo into like him screaming into apocalyptic skies. It's fucking perfect. It's fucking perfect. It doesn't stop. And the album never fucking stops. I feel listening to it, like again, it just transcended back into like I feel like I'm wrapped up in tinfoil and being chewed.
Yeah, you're in the conspiracy hole. You've seen beyond. You've seen the truth of what things are. That you've seen things at their very essence. It's like what that album does. And then it's just rocking. It is hardcore. Death Grips makes very good video game music. Not like that could be in a video game, but like listening to while you've got some game you're playing on mute or something, and you're just getting hyped up. Like even listening to Powers That Be for the first time. I happened to be playing Kingdom Hearts 2 at the time, just in grind mode of trying to max out the levels. What a terrible game. But just putting it on mute, putting the Death Grips Powers That Be on, why bitch gotta lie, why bitch gotta lie. Sora is out there with the Keyblade, killing all these artists. Like that worked. Ex-military has played some Hades while listening to it, and it like is perfectly complimentary. It gets you so amped up, and it's like it's got the sort of political stuff on it that we see in Money Store and things like Guillotine, the classic chopping off the heads of the rich and all that. Guillotine is the only song on that that's made its way to Spotify, I think.
Oh, okay.
The whole
Yeah.
thing. Hopefully, they'll get it on there eventually. I don't know what the deal with that is. If that's something that the band prefers.
I think they sampled something too much.
That's what I thought. Is it's probably a legal thing where they can't
Yep.
clear some of those samples.
Yeah, they fucked it up.
Which is interesting because I mean it's like David Bowie sampled on there, and there are secondhand sources that say he enjoyed Death Grips.
Yeah, I don't know. Part of me kind of likes that it like can't be accessed unless you really have to search for it.
You got to dig for it, and it is worth it, the dig.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, ex-military was my introduction. Again, it hit me like right at that philosophical moment in my life. I fell in love with it. But as for government plates,
yeah, this really interests me that those were your two favorites, because I feel like government plates maybe has some of the same energy as ex-military, but aesthetically, it's very different. I would say
yes,
leans like ex-military is very verse heavy, right? Goes on these long, lyrical rants or screeds, whatever you want to refer to them as. Whereas government plates I really I didn't hate it, but I did not like it that much the first time listening to it. But then as time moved on, I found that I would be sort of mumbling a lot of the hooks on it to myself, especially on the first song. The what is it? He doesn't love you for your money. He only loves you for your leopard skin pillbox hat, with the Bob Dylan reference. It's so weird. But the it's so fucking dark in here. Come fuck apart in here. It's like I would just mumble that to myself a lot if the lights were off. And Birds, which is the one that Robert Pattinson plays guitar on for some strange, through a series of strange coincidences, happens to get on the album. And it the wump up, I got power, I got whatever the lyrics are, 1 bird, 2 bird, 3 bird, 4. It's like stuff like that works. This is Violence Now. Like there is a lot to like on there, but it's very different than ex-military. So what is it that like and listening to it again yesterday, I was still like, okay, I appreciate this more now. But it's still, out of the whole discography, it's on the lower end for me. So like what are the merits of the album to you?
Wow. To me, I think I love Government Plates because it started out like that. For a bit, I was like, oh, this isn't the band I liked. But I, oh man, how do I conceptualize this? For me, I don't know. This is just like a highlight as to their range, where I can still get those same sorts of feelings that I get on their other albums, but in a very different way. Really less emphasis on the drums and the overwhelming loudness. I mean, that's not particularly true in the first track,
Right.
But I think I love this because you were mentioning how you were eventually, like, you just couldn't help yourself from engaging with the hooks. And I think for me, when I am looking at the track list, immediately it comes to my head like the hooks of every single track. Like I can immediately hear them, and I want to bite into them. I want to listen to them. They're just fucking good, solid shit. They're not, I wouldn't say they're like classic Death Grips. They're I think for me that it is in the range. It is in the fact that they managed to do something very different, and a little less toned down.
Yeah, that's what's really interesting about them as a group, is like there are things that are so intrinsic to their sound that have to appear on every album. The noise It has to be loud. It has to be noisy. It has to have those moments on it. It has to incorporate unique sort of sounds that you question to some degree of like, is this music? I don't know if like this is fits in our conventional definitions of what music is or can be. But those are hallmarks and staples on every album. But yet every album is so different from one another, right? They are all distinct projects that choose to, they emphasize, it's like they'll emphasize one element over all the other elements every different album. Like Bottomless Pit and You're the Snitch, like they lean into more of the rock leanings of the band, I feel. Whereas like Government Plates is very electronic, is as we said, sort of takes the lyrics down a notch. Like some are just hooks, don't even have verses on them. They'll swap around what tools they want to use in their toolkit. They've got a lot of stuff, and so that's like something they excel at, I would say.
Yeah, I think again, to defend my love for Government Plates, I think it is one of my favorites because it also lets MC Rod take a step back. He's not really the front of it anymore. And there's long sections where it's pure instruments. Not even like drums, just completely electronic. And it still kills. And then for me, I was like, if they can do it both, man.
It's so weird that it's like they're a hip hop, outfit, but you'll always see people credit Zach Hill, the drummer and the producer, and writes some of the lyrics as being like the main creative force behind it. And it's like he almost like operates in the shadows in a way. Somehow. Like we've got Ride in front, and he's the face of the group, but like Andy Morin and Zach Hill, I mean, they all complement each other so well, which is why it works. But like there's the creative genius is in the back. He hides in the shadows and he holds it all together, Yeah.
Can I ask you, what's your least favorite?
What's my least favorite?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and rank them all right now.
Okay.
Here's my ranking. Coming in at the last, and this is, and as I said, everybody goes, "Oh, this one's underrated. This one's so underrated," right? People's Death Grip list of their favorites seem to vary a lot from what I've. And anytime you put anything anywhere, somebody will go, "Too low, dummy." Too low, fuckhead. Coming in at the bottom, No Love, Deep Web.
Wow.
And the reason is,
wow,
I cannot. I listen to it. Most of I think my opinions could shift because a lot of these albums I've just listened to like once all the way through, or listened to like 1.5 times because I'd get halfway through and then something would come up and then I'd have to wait a little bit to do it again. And just thinking about it now, it's like I cannot think of any of the songs off of it. I could tell you some names, but I cannot think of what any of them sound like. And I cannot conjure any of the emotions, any sort of feelings or memories that I had of listening to it. And so it just like on those merits, like I just have to pop it at the bottom. Maybe if I listen to it again, like I would feel differently. But I love the cover. The cover's very fun. And I do want to read, I know you were saying you don't love investigating the interviews with them. I do want to read, I want to read this little quote that I found on Wikipedia for the album, because for those who don't know, the cover is Zach Hill's penis with the title of the album written on it.
And it's erect.
Erect penis. And MC Ride says in an interview, he says, "If you look at that and all you see is a dick, I don't really have anything to say. Pretty much, I looked at it and said, this is a great photo, and I'd love for this to be the album cover. And then which is so funny to me. And then Zach Hill goes on and on about what it represents in another quote, but that comes off as kind of silly, but it's like, it is very funny. Album cover and the story behind that album of it getting them wanting to put it out before their record label put it out and leaking it and getting dropped. Like, all that is a very fun tale, but that doesn't do a lot for me, that album. But you're saying you disagree.
Well, I partly disagree, because No Love is a go-to for me whenever I feel angry.
Mm-hmm.
That album, I guess I have some of the same criticisms where I can't think of too many songs off of it. But I think it works. I think it has this nice cohesion of mad rage and violence, and I've never felt that from any songs or album ever. It is also definitely some of their best songs live, where Zach is just hitting the drum shirtless with his bare hand, and destroying the drums and like punching through them. I mean, the music video for No Love Alone, beautiful. I mean, he's like, MC Ride is up to the monitor that Zach Hill, like a Hercules sculpture, is holding up to his face so that he can both lick it and scream into it at the same time. It has this unique emotions to it that I've never experienced. But that said, I think it still does rank pretty low for me as well.
Okay, yeah, I don't dislike any of their albums, right?
Okay.
There's not one where I'm like, wow, they really missed the mark with that. But that just one comes bottom for me. Then Fashion Week, which is not, doesn't have the ride vocals, so to me, it doesn't feel that much like a Death Grips album. Like, I don't return to it a lot.
Yeah,
I have the memory of driving around, hearing it for the first time, and going, you know what? I'm having a lot of fun with this one. So, not a lot to say on that one, but that's where it comes from me. Then, this will make you mad, Government Plates.
wow.
For the reasons that I sort of outlined, that, like, just those, it's got some really great tracks on it, but it doesn't, I miss Ride, and just some of it doesn't really work for me.
Wow.
Then I would put You're the Snitch, which has a lot of, once again, great tracks on there. Black Paint, I like Death Grips is Online, Dilemma, Streaky, stuff on there really does work for me. It's weird how their last couple of albums, Bottomless Pit and Year of the Snitch, have leaned more into an accessibility than some of their other stuff. And maybe I'm a simpleton, and that is what appeals to me about it, to put it over those other three. But I've only listened to that one once, so my opinions could change. Then Powers That Be. The Powers That Be. I think I prefer the Jenny Death half of it. I really like the Jenny Death half of it, whereas the On the Moon half of it falls sort of flat for me.
The what?
The On the Moon.
Who's on the moon?
On the Moon. And falls sort of flat for me. Leans a little too much into that sort of not electronic sound, but like electronic music. It's so hook dependent, but catchy, like really catchy, like Black Quarterback, and I think of the No Billy Not Really all the time, because I've lived with fucking a Billy. So that helps it, but then that back half is just so sick. of all the stuff on that. Break mirrors with my face in the United States, all that slaps. So then I would put Bottomless Pit, which Bottomless Pit took me a while to get into, not because of its music, but because listening to it for the first time, I was driving to the grocery store, the Ralph's parking lot, and while Hothead was playing, accidentally scraped a car.
Oh no.
Another parking space. So then after that, I was, just so mad at myself for screwing that up. And, and I waited. I didn't hit and run or anything. I waited and we exchanged information. And then a car over said to me, "You did a good thing, kid." Like, I was watching. You did a good thing, kid. So after that, then I'm like, oh, is today the day I'm finally going to go listen to Bottomless Pit? And then I would just think about getting in the car accident and being, I don't want to touch it. But then I went back to it, and it's like, okay, giving back people good ideas, great. Hothead, despite being the song I was listening to, came back for me. Love it.
Yeah.
Oh, no fucking filter cookie needle, Hothead. It slaps. Spikes is great. Warping. I mean, Bubbles Buried in This Jungle. All the other stuff on there. Got to listen to it some more, but just immediately popped for me. Then I would put Money Store. And I know I'm basic. And then up at the top, as I've said, my opinions have shifted. Ex-Military comes in the top for me. Which matches up with you, right? Or
we'll see. We'll see.
With ex-military.
Now that I've never talked so in-depthly about this band I like, so I might, now that I've been thinking about it, I might change. Okay, here's my list.
Okay.
Nobody gives a shit what you think. I'm the Death Grips guy.
Right.
Bottom, Fashion Show. It's okay.
Didn't you say you haven't listened to it?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
I think I've listened to a few tracks.
Right.
But I don't know.
No, I think that's fair. I get it.
I'd say by a wide margin, I think Year of the Snitch is just bad for me. I actually will say I don't think I like this album. Maybe because I haven't listened to it too much. Maybe I was a little phased out of Death Grips in 2018. But I never really got into it. After that, I hate you, but you might be a little right. No Love is probably next. After Year of the Snitch.
And it's not for that opinion.
But there's a gap.
That's just true that you hate me.
Yes.
Yeah.
But there's a gap. I think there is a great distance, despite the numbers being next to each other. There's a great distance in quality between those two. The next is probably Money Store. For me, I think it's played out. I think maybe it's because I've listened to it too much.
I find that all the time with all sorts of albums where it's like, man, I love that album, but I just have no desire to put it on or anything. I've exhausted it.
Yes.
Like, there's nothing. I've gotten all the juice out of it. There's nothing that I don't feel that way about Money Store right now, but at that time could come.
Yeah. I definitely feel that way. Next is The Powers That Be. This was a big one because this was the tour in which I saw them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2015. I was 16. Oh, but okay. Anyways, yeah, I love both sides. They've got kind of a more government plates sort of deal on the first side. And then that back half is real nice. There's just not a song I don't like on this album. Next is, I'd say, number 2 is Bottomless Pit. Again, this is one I hated. I listened to and I despised. Like Hothead. It took me maybe 30 listens before Hothead just locked in to my head, where suddenly, the first time I hear him going blah 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 blah, I'm like, this is, come on.
Yeah.
And then just a flip is switched. And now, oh man, I'm just racing to hear it. Oh, I can't. I love it. I love it so much. And that's one of my key, the cornerstones of why I love this band is because I can do that with their songs. Or if I just let go, if I just let go of the ledge of whatever I'm holding on to, I can find something, and there's something really nice in there. And then I think I named them all. Or no, Government Plates and ex-military are my top two.
Yeah, so I mean, pretty have some similar things, but also pretty different. Our two lists, which seems to be the case for all sorts of Death Grips fans, as they have, mixed lists. I'm excited now that I'm on board, and now that the band seems to still be together and seems to be teasing something upcoming. I'm pumped. I can't wait to be there at ground zero for whatever the next album or next project is.
I almost don't want them to make any more music because I don't want them to have a really bad album.
Right.
Like
I understand.
Like a Tarantino. Like I want them to make 10 albums and just leave it. Walk away. Leave them wanting more.
Because it preserves the mythology.
Yes, exactly.
Of the band, of this like phenomenon that was around for like just over a decade, slightly over a decade, and then pulled away, and has this great library of music we can delve into. So, Aidan, as you were saying, I've spent longer right now talking to you about Death Grips than I guess you've ever talked to anyone about Death Grips in your life. And I feel like we've covered not all there is to cover, but a lot of what there is to cover. So are there any sort of final thoughts you have about the band or about the Money Store in particular, or just the band in general? Anything you feel like we haven't addressed?
If you can't get into it, you're wrong. You gotta let go. I believe in you guys. And to the one guy listening.
Yeah, the one guy, and the bots. Don't forget the
bots. And the bots.
Success in the bot demographic recently.
It would sadden me for like somebody who says they enjoy music. To listen to this and be like, I don't like it.
And if they didn't find anything in it. If they didn't like it, that's one thing. But if they were to write it off as like, oh, there's nothing in there for me, or there's
like if you think this is just like a guy yelling, you're wrong.
You're wrong, and you better watch your back, because
you're wrong.
Yelling is gonna come murder you.
You're wrong. You're stupid. I don't like you. There's all I can say is your primal soup is calling to you, and it's in these albums, and something you have never noticed was inside of you can be awakened. Okay, that beast.
Come home.
Yeah, you won't even know that all your life you've been worshiping a beast, and you are the beast you worship.
You are, yes, exactly. I think Money Store and Death Grips has been, over this last year, has been like such a important band to me, and also so emblematic of how like my music tastes have evolved and changed, that, as I was saying, this is something that if I touch in high school, back in the days where I was doing all sorts of musical theater and not even necessarily liking all these musical theater songs, but that was what I was listening to. If I had heard this, I'd just go, this is evil. This is for no one. What is this? What a waste of time. I should never listen to this. And now it's just like one of the things that I get some of the most.
I will say the one bad thing Death Grips has done in my life is it has spoiled concerts. The concept, to me, I bought some King Gizzard tickets back right before the pandemic, which was a bad time to buy tickets. I should have known that there was a pandemic coming, and I'm not going to get my $80 back.
They didn't refund that?
Oh no. They rescheduled it 2 years in advance. So I gave it to a friend. He did give me the money.
Oh, great.
For selling. Yeah. So without I didn't ask for it, for the record. He was being nice. He just gave me market price. Anyways, but this has spoiled concerts. The concept of me, I've told this to my girlfriend so many times, like the idea of me going to like a concert, like a Fleetwood Mac or like King Gizzard, where I'd sit in like, Red Rocks and be 1,000 yards away from these guys and just like sitting on a chair or like standing right above a chair and being like, that is bullshit. I want to be in a pile of flesh, and I want to become one with it, and I want to shove, and I want to do things that are illegal in
Right.
every other context.
That in every other context are assault.
Yeah, I mean, I've literally gone to these concerts, and in every legal definition in probably every state, I've gone up to a stranger without ever talking to them in advance, just by some sort of unspoken rule of entering a designated perimeter. I've committed assault and battery, and it's a beautiful thing. And people committed it against me, and I love them for it.
Right.
So yeah, I can't. I really the idea of me going to a concert and I'm not like punching somebody. Well, I don't say punching. You don't punch people in a mosh pit, but
right.
It's bad etiquette.
That's taboo. That's taboo. Hey, buddy, how dare you get too violent in the mosh pit?
Yeah, no. MC Ride can punch. I'm sure he's genuinely made somebody bleed.
Wouldn't that be amazing if you had to sign a contract at security, like at the gate, like
like an extreme horror?
You hereby authorize MC Ride to punch.
Yeah,
you yourself, or
like those really extreme adult horror. What do you call it? Like a
haunted houses.
Yeah, haunted houses where like the actors can grope you.
Right.
That's what I imagine. I don't know.
Yeah. So they've ruined concerts. Is sort of because the only concert you could go to is another Death Grips concert. Is what you're saying?
It's the only one I want. Like, I mean, it saves me money. I have no desire. Like, I'd rather just listen to somebody at my desk driving, singing along. I mean, maybe, not that I don't like live music. I would actually, the one band I would like to see is Bad Bad Not Good. I'd like to see them in like a small candlelit room eating a porterhouse steak. Those are my concluding thoughts on Death Grips.
Like you're seeing Sinatra or something.
Yeah, like Barry Manilow is about to come on, but while we're waiting,
everybody's a little tipsy.
Yeah.
Oh, we want to see Bad Not Good.
Yeah, the table next to me is like an old man and his long married wife, and they're talking about how he just got caught with an affair for the third time.
Yeah, and this is how he's making it up to her.
Yeah.
Tickets to the Bad Not Good.
They're opening for Barry Manilow, so.
Aidan, I have no idea whether this is a relevant question or not, but I have to ask it. Do you have anything to plug? Anything in your life?
I can't believe you brought up Money Fund Vengeance. That was honestly rude of you.
I watch the video of you promoting the chess club a lot. Not every day or something, but at least like once a year, I do.
So for context, I was in a class called TV2. You had 1, 2, and 3, and TV2 was in charge of running the messages that played every Friday, and you would advertise something and talk about the school. And I made one for chess club. That one, where there's like a demon voice over somebody's talking, that was considered too violent and was not allowed to be screened in front of high school students. These people were doing cocaine in the bathrooms. Okay, they can handle. I was so pissed. I was so mad because that was attitude era. That was when I had finally dropped all pretenses of trying to be good at this, and I was just like, I'm gonna make something, and my focus was just gonna make it funny. But yeah, I'd say check out my YouTube channel. There's probably a good 10 hours worth of really, really, really bad podcasts. I think I had to take down 2 of them at the request of the interviewers.
I think I'm on a couple of those, right?
Yeah, I think we talked twice.
Yeah, and I think that's a real sign of my sort of maturity over the years, is that, or my growing up, is that at the time when you were getting sort of disenchanted with the whole thing of like, am I really going to go through and interview every comedic arts student? I'm like, no, I'm thinking, no, come on, he's got it. What a noble quest. Such a great idea. And now at this age, having, graduated from the program and everything, I'm like, wow, he was really on track to make the most boring podcast of all time. Thank God he stopped.
So I spent $800 on that podcast equipment to use it maybe 10 times. Well, actually, this microphone is the result of those purchases. So that's really that's its legacy. They're bad. They're embarrassing. I keep them up because they are embarrassing, and I feel like, to me, to remove them would be to admit shame, and I feel no shame because I was but a boy, and I'll laugh along with you. Not really though. I will never listen to those ever again.
So there's the plug. A bunch of stuff that Aidan is ashamed of is available to be streamed now on YouTube.
Yeah, youtube.com. I think this will work because I made this account when I was in like elementary school. It should be youtube.com/Bonano King. Spelled like that. Bonano King. I think that was my original YouTube name.
So Aidan, thank you for coming on. Absolute pleasure to have you.
It's I'll say it lived up to the hype, Evan.
And I'll make sure that I get you those $4,000 I promised you for your appearance fee.
I know you don't have it. Don't worry about it.